morning. Welcome into the Vanda Studios. I'm Katie Florio, joined alongside Tarek El-Bashir for another edition of Rink Report. And Tarek, we have a lot of good stuff to talk about this time because about halfway through November, the Capitals kicked it into gear, finished off the month with 7 wins in their last 8 games. A lot of players starting to break out. So it's been good sailing for the Capitals so far. Yeah, no doubt, Katie. I feel like the kind of the rough patch there in October spilled into November. They got to the middle of the month, and I was so surprised when I looked at the standings one morning. I was like, oh my goodness, they're like almost in last place in the East. How is this possible with all this talent? It didn't make a lot of sense to me. Then they played the New Jersey Devils, and I believe it was a shootout loss, and they played well in that game, and I feel like they probably deserved a better result. But I feel like they started to build their game after that contest. Things started to fall into place for them. All of the puck luck that they weren't getting in the first part of the season was finally starting to turn their way. Look, it's a silly game played on ice. Sometimes the puck hits the post and it goes that way. Sometimes it hits the post and it goes in. I mean, there's a lot of random events in hockey. The analytics were good. The process was good. That said, they weren't getting the results, and you could tell they were starting to get some frustration. It was starting to seep into their game a little bit. But then that New Jersey Devils game, they get a point, then they get a win, then they get another win, and before you know it, guys who were struggling and not scoring, they were starting to score. The confidence is back. Such a big part of this game is confidence. Once the puck starts going in, you believe it's going to go in, and after that, their season really took off, and they're looking pretty right now. Spencer Carberry talked a lot about finishing. There were so many games where he liked the process. They just weren't able to finish. And like you said, so many guys now starting to see that finish. We will get into plenty of them momentarily, but I want to start with the standings because the Metro Division is really the whole Eastern Conference is so tight.
Very tight.
Whether you play every day, it's changing based on who is playing that night, and so you're not going to be able to figure things out until the very end of the season. But for a team that found themselves at the very bottom at one point to in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving. That's what you and I kept harping on in prior episodes. You have to be in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving. The Capitals surge up. It's exactly what they did. So you got to think confidence is high, but now it's all about consistency. How are they able to sustain that and hopefully go on another long playoff run? You know, I like the bones of this team. You know, in real estate, we talk about the bones of an old house. Like, are those solid? Those are very solid for this team. Logan Thompson, their number 1 goaltender, is playing outstanding. They're starting to score a lot of goals. They're over 4 goals a game right now. Now, that's starting to paper over some of their struggles on special teams. But you know what? It's about results, and they're starting to get the goals. Guys who have been a little dry at the start of the season are really starting to put the puck into the net right now. So the one area that's going to keep them, in my opinion, from being consistent is special teams. They've got to figure that out. It's the one negative around this team. Legendary coach Ken Hitchcock used to have the rule of 100. If you took the power play percentage and you took the penalty kill percentage, the best teams in the league, if you add those 2 numbers together, they need to get to about 100. Right now, the Capitals are significantly underwater. My dad taught me that too.
Yes,
okay.
Hockey family. You guys are probably talking about it at the dinner table.
Absolutely.
Right now, you know, they aren't even at 90, so they've got a lot of runway there. They've got to find some consistency on the power play. I feel like maybe they're starting to figure things out with Ryan Leonard starting to, find his game on the power play, but it's got to be better if they're going to make a push for the top of the Eastern Conference like they did last year. Well, before we get into our 3 stars for the month of November, because so many guys started jumping up, we have a few honorable mentions that we have to touch on as well. And you mentioned the power play, Ryan Leonard now coming up. We've seen him a little bit at that top unit, and he's a guy, power play or not, regular 5-on-5. I want to mention him because I think this was a really solid month for him. To start the season, it was still maybe a little bit of getting your bearings, getting your feet under. How do I become a consistent NHL player? And by this past month, we were seeing that confidence shine. You know, it's so funny, Katie. It had been so long since the Capitals had a young player come in and have a full-time role, because they've been so good for so many years. They've always been drafting in the 20s, right? So for them to get Ryan Leonard at 8, I was all hyped up when he came in from BC at the end of the year. I was like, oh, he's going to score all these goals. I saw what he was doing in college, and then you remember how much of a step it is from the NCAA to the NHL, and so I had to kind of recalibrate my expectations for him. Then he comes in. Training camp was pretty good. You probably wish he could have put the puck in the net a little bit more in the preseason. I was like, okay, well, what's going on here? Then about a month into the season, you could tell the game just started to slow down in his head. And I know that's a cliche, but it is so true for young players. When you first get out there against grown men who, feed their families, playing this game, the level of intensity, you're not quite ready for it. And you find yourself drowning a little bit.
But he's held his own, too.
He absolutely has.
Really good at drawing penalties as well.
Yes, he's one of the best on the team at drawing penalties, because he's always keeping his feet moving.
Always.
And he's got the puck on his stick a lot, which is another key indicator. But it just felt like he needed the game to slow down in his head a little bit and just to go, okay, I can do this. And, he scored a couple of goals, and you could see the confidence starting to come in. I would say the last 2 or 3 weeks, you're starting to see, we're still just scratching the surface with his potential, but you're starting to see what kind of player he's going to be. Like you said, drawing penalties. Every time there's a post-whistle scrum and he's on the ice, he's somewhere around it. There's a lot of what for? Why are they so mad at me? What did I do? Well, because you whacked the goalie. But you know what? You love guys who play that hard and they play to the whistle. He wants to win so badly, and you can see that. He takes it personally when he's not putting up points or when the team loses. He's going to be such a good player for such a long time. Not ready to be a star for us yet, but he's starting to get into the conversation. I'd be very surprised if we get through this entire season with Ryan Leonard not being one of our stars.
He has been a lot of fun to watch, and it is still early on, but Tarek, a lot of guys, like I said, have jumped up this month, started to produce. Who would you also include in the honorable mentions?
Ethan Frank. I mean, here's a guy who didn't even start the season on the team. Comes up as an injury replacement. He's starting to show his speed more often. Another guy who just needed a role, needed some minutes. He's scoring some important goals for the team. Look, Logan Thompson was one of our stars last time. He deserves to be an honorable mention once again. The numbers aren't quite where they were the first month and a half of the season, but he's still winning games for this team. He's still a difference maker every single time he is in the crease. So those are my 3 honorable mentions. Oh, you know what? Let me throw one more.
Okay, of course.
John Carlson.
Yeah.
Why not? He's scoring, he's setting up guys. The offense was kind of a struggle for him last year. I feel like that's back a little bit. Love the way he's playing at 35 years old.
Well, when those guys are in your honorable mentions, when your top goaltender is in there, that's a good problem to have.
It is.
Because that's 3 other guys that have taken those star spots for this month. And so coming in at our 3rd star of the month is Tom Wilson.
Yeah.
An excellent month for him, 17 points. Finished the final game of November, a multi-goal performance from him. All in all, he has probably been what I think has been the most consistent on this team, even when the Capitals were going through some of those struggles in October, early November. He was the one showed up, showed out every single night, a leader on this team, not just, of course, with the point production, the physicality, the leadership. This team really does revolve a big chunk around Tom Wilson.
Yeah, it does. And the fact that he plays in every situation just speaks to how important he is to this team. He kills penalties. He's on the power play. He is scoring important goals at a very high rate for this team. I mean, he scored 30 and we're like, oh, wow, he took another step in his career. He's on pace for like 45 right now. I mean, he should. I know on pace is kind of a dangerous thing, but I feel like this is the year when you have that strong start where he might end up scoring 40 goals. And when you think back, and I've covered him for the entirety of his career, I think back to him breaking into this league on the 4th line as a fighter, as a physical guy, to see all of the little and big parts that he's added to his game. I mean, like, if you're a coach, you're telling your kids, be like Tom Wilson, a guy who found his footing in the league and then continued to get better every single year, added a new tool to his tool belt every single year, and look at where he is now.
Well, he has his friend joining him this month. The big man, Alex Ovechkin, the second star of the month, led the Capitals in goals and points.
10 goals.
It's Ovi we're talking
he's
about.
Inevitable.
A guy that, okay, maybe you think got off to a little bit of a slower start. High expectations coming off, of course, the milestone history year last year, but you can just tell, you can see it now. I feel like in his eyes and his body language, when he wants to get on, he gets on, and that's exactly what we saw this month from him.
Without a doubt, Katie. And the thing that really jumped out to me is the fact that he continues to evolve his game. And that just speaks to his intelligence and the fact that he's coachable. Even at 40 years old, he realizes he doesn't have the hands that he used to. He doesn't have the wheels that he used to. But he still has that shot. He still is able to find soft spots in the defensive coverage and get the puck into the net at an incredibly high rate. And if you look at the heat map of his goals to this point in the season, especially in November, subtract the empty netters. He even had one really long empty netter. Goals are goals. He is scoring his goals from right inside of the house. Right inside the blue paint, either in the hash marks, right in front of the net, and then even 900. 900 was that ridiculous spinorama flip. I've seen most of his goals. I've never seen a goal like that, but again, that was from like 15 feet from outside the crease. That's how Alex Ovechkin is going to get to 36, 37, maybe even 40 goals again at age 40. He's got to keep going to the net and earning his money right there in the blue paint.
And real quick, going away from the numbers for a second, you know what I love, and at age 40 is, I don't know how much you watch social media with the pregame videos in the tunnel and things like that. He is the one involved every single game. They're talking about his haircut.
I can't understand what he's saying. He's just like making noises half the time.
Yes, and that's what I love about him is he takes this job, he takes this game seriously, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. And before you go on warm-ups, he's joking around with everyone else. Of course, it was great to see his kids come out before the ceremony. And so it's so wonderful to see him still enjoying the game of hockey with his team.
You know what my favorite thing about Ovi is, and it will always be my favorite thing besides the goals, is the fact that whether he scores or assists or doesn't even factor into the goal, he's the first guy through the celebration line when they go by the bench. He's always the first guy.
Well, speaking of things that he yells no matter what, bands is one of them, and bands relates to Jacob
and the
Chychrun.
dance they do.
Dance.
Oh my God, ridiculous.
Yeah, I love it. But Jacob Chychrun, no-brainer, our first star of the month for the month of November. A 5-game goal streak, a 10-game point streak from November 11th to November 28th. He was on fire, finished the month. Most goals in the league by a defenseman, and you can see he's only going to continue to progress because he's feeling himself right now.
Yeah, he is. And look, he had a great season last year. I felt even then that there was more there, and we're starting to see the more there. He's cleaned up his game in his own end. He's even playing better in his own end on the defensive side of the puck, which really speaks to just the evolution of his game. He has been so good. And you think about the Capitals and where they're getting all these extra goals from. They're getting them from the back end. And for the most part, it's Chychrun and John Carlson. It is so important for this team, while the power play is still struggling a little bit, to get some secondary sources of scoring. And that secondary source right now is the blue line. The Capitals have the most goals of any defensive core in the NHL, and they have Jacob Chychrun largely to thank for that.
Jacob Chychrun, the star of the show with that, but you mentioned the blue line as a whole. We didn't touch on them as a group. They so solid this month. So much credit to them for the Capitals wins. But Tarek, we recently had the chance to catch up with a really good mind, both on Capitals and the NHL as a whole. Devontae Smith-Pelly joined us in studio for a wonderful conversation. Well, we are now pleased to welcome in a new guest to Rink Report, Devontae Smith-Pelly. Thanks for joining. I'm happy we could get you in your busy schedule now. Sportsnet, NHL Network.
Big time.
Monumental, big time. So congratulations on all the gigs, but thanks so much for joining us today. How has the media world been for you?
It's good. I've been enjoying it. I think when I first started, I just wanted to try it out and see how I enjoyed it. And a couple games in, I said, I actually really love this. So getting a chance to stay in the game without coaching and putting on my skates and doing things that I don't exactly want to do. No, it's been awesome. So I'm enjoying it and I'm learning a lot.
So in my 2 decades in covering pro sports. Here's something that really stands out.
You guys have some history.
We have some history,
Yeah.
so I'll get to that in a minute. But the guys who do the best on TV afterwards typically didn't like doing media when they were players.
Yeah.
And that was this guy.
Okay.
I remember sometimes you get the kind of side eye or the rolled eyes when it was time to talk after practice. That said, you always had time for us, and you always gave us great answers. But it just always makes me laugh when the best guys on TV were like, oh,
Yeah.
Here we go again.
I think it's interesting because I played in Canada and it gets pretty intense up there. So I think after my bid there in Montreal, I was kind of like looked at media
Burned out.
as it was the team versus the media when it really shouldn't be like that. But no, I always enjoyed talking to the media, even though you're kind of coached not to say much. But yeah, like now being on the other side is funny because I feel like even when I go in the room here, it's kind of like, oh, there's a media guy in here. All my old teammates are gone. I'm now officially just regular media guys.
So I don't know if you've seen this picture, but I did text you a picture the other day of us doing an interview.
Yeah.
I had the mic in the hand.
Yeah.
You were getting ready for a game. I believe that was during the Tampa Bay series, the year you guys won the cup.
Yeah, that picture.
We look so young.
Oh my God. And it's like I was still a grown adult then too, and I feel like I look like a baby. But it's funny that now we're on the same side and we're on the same team here. So
yeah,
it's
man,
awesome.
welcome to the dark side.
It's awesome.
You were young. You always call me young Katie. You were young Tarek
At one
in that
point,
picture.
yeah.
That was years ago. Well, DSP, we have a lot to get into today. We want to start with of course, the Cup team you were on, because early in the season, but we're already seeing maybe some similarities between that team and this current year, but specifically start with this season, no question, a little bit of up and down to start, but the Capitals have had a very successful November. A lot of guys starting to break out, backed by solid goaltending. Big picture, what have you liked out of the start to this year?
Yeah, I think it's definitely been up and down. I think at the start of the year, they were getting a lot of chances. They had a lot of puck possession. I think under the hood, as they would say, they were fine. Right? So the finishing got closer to where it was last year. Guys were starting to bury their chances. I think they did a good job of sticking with it. I've been on teams where, you are analytically doing well, but you're not getting results. So you kind of push and don't stay the course. They did a good job of doing that. When it comes to similarities, I think the 2018 team was different because we were like awful at the start of the year. We weren't.
Coach almost got fired.
Yeah, we weren't exactly. It was different because this team was actually doing what they needed to do, just weren't finishing, weren't really getting the bounces. Our team was not really doing what we were supposed to be doing. We were kind of getting smoked actually at some points. So I just see that's a lot different, that this team has already started off well to start this season, because our team definitely did not.
So you're going through all those struggles in 2018. What was it like in the locker room? What was the atmosphere like?
Well, for me, it's a little different because I was the new guy, so I was just like, I don't really know what's really going on.
I'll just stay in my stall and be quiet.
Yeah, right. So you're kind of trying to meet guys and get into the team and meet your core group and your friends and your line mates and all this stuff. So the season was kind of just going along slowly, and that's when you kind of heard that Trotzy was kind of on the hot seat a little bit. But it was an interesting start because you could feel the hurt from the year before, and me, obviously we're on the same team, but I was not on that team, so I don't have the same feeling as a lot of those guys. So at the same time, I'm trying to keep it light when guys are kind of going through it early in the year, still thinking about the previous year. So it's kind of a weird balance for newer guys, a guy like myself. But there was a switch probably in and around this time where Trotzy kind of gave it to us a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very honest conversation. I think I actually came out of that meeting pretty safe. I don't think I got yelled at or anything. So that was good. But
I was doing my job.
Yeah, a lot of the top guys, it was very honest conversation, and that, kind of turned our season around.
Yeah.
You mentioned they were awful. It was really bad. The switch flips. Do you think with this team this year, was a switch like that, a hardcore one, even necessary? Or going back to what you were saying about finishing, was it just maybe, okay, they didn't come out the way they started last year, but there's still a lot of time to be able to right the ship here?
Yeah, I think, and I would imagine the coaching staff was preaching just kind of sticking with it. When you look at their scoring chances, the amount they had the puck, the amount they were expected to score, the amount they were expected to give up, it wasn't really matching up with how the games were going a lot of times. I think you see a lot of times the Caps had the puck for a lot of the game, 30-plus shots, give up 20 shots, and lose the game. Those things aren't going to happen throughout the whole year, right? So they did a good job of sticking with it. You know, Connor McMichael went forever without a goal. That wasn't going to happen. He was getting chances. You know, Protas got cold. Willie got cold a little bit in the middle. Like, guys were getting cold. Ovi is not going to go. He's not going to be cold the whole time. We know that. Stuff like that isn't going to happen the whole year. So I thought they did a good job of just sticking with it because it's easy to kind of get off of your game plan when things aren't going your way.
Staying big picture, like you said, the bones of the house are there, right? The analytics are good. The 5-on-5 play is good.
Yeah.
The D leads the entire NHL in goals scored. LT's been really, really good. That said, special teams have not been very good. How much of a concern do you think that is?
Well, at this point in the season, we're kind of getting into the time where you should be really concerned. You know, I think it's gotten better. I think the change with, you know, Chikrin being on there and you know, I think it's crazy to say, but a 20-year-old Ryan Leonard going on the power play has kind of transformed it a little bit, gives a different look. So I think, you know, we give this little unit 10 to 15 games of run.
Okay.
And if you're still sitting in the bottom half of power play, that's when, you know, I don't want to say panic mode, but that's where we kind of got to look at, all right, what are we doing here as a whole? But that's part of the sticking to the process. You know, you continue to with your 5-on-5 game and while you're trying to work out the kinks of the power play.
Okay.
As we close out November, approach December, a month closer to rosters being set for the Olympics, and there is a lot of chatter with the Capitals and, of course, Team Canada. Does Tom Wilson make it? Does Logan Thompson make it? And even after the month he had, Jacob Chikrin maybe putting his name in the hat as someone, especially now with an ear to the ground in the Canadian media. What are you hearing, and who do you feel like absolutely deserves a chance?
Yeah, well, I think they're all on the radar, that's for sure. I think to me, you know, LT and Tom, they've got to be on the team. You know, last year there was something going on with the management and LT. It seems like they've kind of ironed that out and talked about it. Obviously, it wasn't that big of a deal if they could just figure it out. So, you know,
it helps him that the other guys are struggling, right?
Yeah,
Montembeault, Binnington, I think Hill's hurt.
Yeah.
So it
helps that he's so far ahead of those guys that now they kind of have no choice. I think with Tom, you look at the way Four Nations went, it's a little bit different with international refs. They're going to be calling maybe a little bit lighter penalties when it comes to physical play. But
no fighting either.
Yeah, but Tom kills penalties.
And he scores
Tom
goals.
Scores
man.
goals. Yeah, like we're talking about a guy who's going to be physical, and he has the production to back it up now as well. So I think when people hear the name Tom Wilson, they think, oh well, we don't need a guy to run it. Well, he kills penalties. He plays 20 minutes a night. He doesn't get tired, and now he's a prolific goal scorer the last couple of years. So.
Yeah, I mean, can play on the power play. You said can play on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned to me, I was arguing with someone about Tom the other day, and they were like, you put him on the ice when you're playing Sweden. Every defenseman on Sweden is now like, where's 43? Where's 43? That alone makes it important to put Tom Wilson on this team, right?
Yeah, it matters. I mean, you look. It's not a playoff series where it's going to wear guys down, but there's a lot of good players where one mistake could literally cost the whole game for another team. So when these really good defensemen are going back, the easier it is for them to break out. You know, they're going to get out every single time, right?
The only thing that worries me, guys, is Celebrini and Bedard. They kind of came out, not out of nowhere, but like you can't take everyone. I wonder if one of those guys might put the squeeze on.
Yeah, I thought, I mean, those guys, they're very, very young. For me personally, the way I see it, those guys are top 6 guys.
Okay.
I don't even see them having anything to do with Tom, right? Tom is going to play on the 4th line right wing. Celebrini and Bedard are top 6 players. These are top 5 in scoring. I feel like those 3 guys are not even in the same kind of conversation. They can all 3 be there.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, pivoting a little bit away from what's going to come with the rosters, again, probably not going to be on one, but Jacob Chikrin, the month he had, I'm going to get you going on him because there's a whole lot to talk about. The streaks he had in November, the goal scoring, the point streak, and just the way he broke out once again. And you can see his confidence, everything about him through the roof for this team right now.
Yeah, it's been amazing. He's definitely put himself on the radar. I think he's a little bit more in tough. I mean, there's some stud defensemen back there that play kind of the same way. Theodore, Morrissey, Harley. you know, he's definitely made it tougher on those guys, but he's a little bit more tough. But for him, he's totally transformed the Caps team since coming on board, right? You look a couple years ago, it was John Carlson and then everyone else in the offensive and getting on the play. They didn't have anyone who could do that, right? So, and as well as Sandin and Roy, those guys are also part of the change. But when it comes to having a legit threat from the back end, you know, having John on the ice and then having Chikrin right behind him, that's tough for a lot of teams to handle.
Okay, last question for me. So we know Marty Farivari is going to be on Slovakia.
Yep.
Rasmus Sandin has met with the Team Sweden brass. Like, I think he's in the mix.
Yeah.
John Carlson have a chance? He's been an American hero in the past. He's having such a great season to this point. Do you want a 35-year-old who's been there and done it and can bring some leadership to the team?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm so out of the loop with USA Hockey. I'm just like, well, why wouldn't John just be there?
You got your ear to the streets in Toronto.
Yeah, right? So it doesn't really, he's got I don't know if he's talking to the management, and I don't think he went to the summer orientation, but I don't think that is you know, kind of shuts everything totally off, right? But I mean, having a guy who's, you know, he deserves to be there on play, he deserves to be there on experience for some of these younger guys that are going to be on the team. I just don't see how he doesn't make your team better.
I'd put him on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot to look forward to, a lot that we're excited to see how it pans out. But Devo, thank you so much for joining us today. Great insight. Really appreciate having you on.
Thank you, guys.
Correct. That was a great conversation with DSP. Appreciate him finding the time to fit us in here on Rink Report. He has Sportsnet, Monumental, NHL Network. He's a busy man right now.
You know, I feel like every time I flip the TV on and I'm watching like an out-of-town game, a lot of times it's Sportsnet that I get. And DSP's up there breaking down the game in the intermission. I love it. He's doing a great job. He's a guy who I think has a lot of potential to be really good in this business.
Well, he gave us great insight on this show. And as the Capitals continue their road trip in California, then head home. We're already down to the final month of 2025.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? But still a lot of season left to look forward to. Capitals got to keep up that consistency. Yes, things are good right now, but have to be able to sustain it. And with that, who specifically are you still looking for to maybe break out and start leading this team?
You know, before we get to my breakout candidate, I want to say the staying focused at the holiday time when you have a lot of players that have children,
that's a good point,
that's something they've really got to drill down on. I'm sure Spencer Carberry is going to be hammering home that point. And then guys are going to start looking forward to that Olympic break. So you've really got to stay in the moment and stay dialed here over this next month and a half, because these are important games. They all matter. And the fact that there's so many guys who are still in the mix for their national teams, I think that's going to keep some guys really trying to hammer down one of those spots. You know, I'm thinking about, as we discussed with Devo, you know, Jacob Chikrin's trying to get on Team Canada, Tom Wilson, Logan Thompson, Rasmus Sandin, maybe even John Carlson. So some guys have a lot to play for here. But to your question, I'm going to go back to something I said before. Ryan Leonard is right there.
He is.
He's right there. He is probably a couple of weeks from like his first, I don't want to say hat trick, but a stretch of multi-point games, because you can tell. I mean, he hit the post the other night, which would have given him another multi-point game. I mean, he is right there. He's my December breakout candidate.
Okay. I like him. I'm thinking Connor McMichael. I think his November was strong. And Alexei Protas getting more and more assists. Still maybe itching to find the back of the net. But regardless, a really, really good month, a good, strong finish for the Capitals as they now look to have a very successful December. And thank all of you, as always, for tuning in to another edition of Rink Report. We'll be right back with you next week.